listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple and wherever you get your podcasts. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today I have with me on the show 5 different guests, all women across the world. As a matter of fact, I actually have a lady from Australia, and the recording time right now is just about 10:15 a.m. in the morning Mountain Time, and it is 2:15 in the morning on Monday morning in Australia. So we got a good range, people from all over the world on the show today. Welcome everybody. This is going to be an amazing episode. I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves to the audience and then we will get started.
Hi, my name's Debra. I'm from Australia. I am 53 years old. I was diagnosed 10 months ago, and I have regular psychology appointments. And one session, I was doing a telehealth appointment with Claire, my psychologist, and I said to Claire, I said, I keep arguing with myself in my head. It feels like I'm a schizophrenic. There's something not right. And she says, Debra, I've suspected this for quite a while now, but you have ADHD. And that has started my journey, and that was 10 months ago. So I suppose we'll talk about everyone and we'll get involved, but that's basically how I found out.
Fantastic. All right.
Hi, my name is Wendy, and I'm in Rhode Island, Wendy Harold, and I am 52, and I was diagnosed in my 40s. I had never gone through an official assessment, and so now I'm actually thinking that might be a good idea for me to do. I also was just it was sort of casually mentioned to me, and then I started to look into it, and then read a few books, and it all was clicking. A doctor did make the an unofficial diagnosis, but I haven't had an official assessment. But I work in tech, and I have chosen not to take any kind of medication for this, but now starting to reconsider that thought. Coping mechanisms only get you so far. So there are times when you really just have to, in my opinion, make that switch. I'm hoping that there's a way. I'm just starting to look into it and hoping there's a way that I can manage it so that I choose when to be medicated, and it's not something that I have to take on a recurring basis, because I really like the feeling of the hyper focus, and I mean, I think there are lots of really wonderful things that come with having ADHD, and I don't want to lose those.
Nice. Excellent.
Hi, my name's Kim Allingham, and I'm in the UK. Thanks, Russ, for inviting me on. I am 42 and I was officially diagnosed in January, so still fairly all new to me. I have known since probably last July, August, because obviously that's the length period really it was to get diagnosed. I know it's a lot longer now here in the UK. And I guess mine came just by weird chance. I think that's how we all probably find out about ADHD. I was actually working with a client where they were ADHD, and my role is always been people strategy and experiences and hiring. And it's all about improving that communication within the teams. And I was just, I was intrigued about how this is something I hadn't really thought about, even though many entrepreneurs and business owners actually are probably ADHD, and probably many of my clients were. So I went down that rabbit hole of seeing what I could find to see what I could do to improve. And I stumbled upon a podcast which was based around ADHD women, and then it led on to ADHD entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur for about 12 years, and it just hit home. It just started like I was hearing and reading all about myself. So yeah, I started the process to get diagnosed, and it's been life-changing for me. This podcast is not long enough to talk about all the stuff that I've gone through, but it definitely was a massive change for me. And I would say it's completely done a massive flip in my life. I've changed my whole business. And so I agree with Wendy. There's so many positives to ADHD. And I'm a big advocate for working with your strengths and really learning how to work with your brain, because as soon as you know why you think and feel and act the way you do, just everything seems to make sense. So yeah, that's my brief.
Nice. All right.
My name is Alex. I am 22 years old. I'm non-binary, and I actually got diagnosed about 8 months ago. I think one thing that kind of clicked in my head was that, well, both of my siblings actually had ADHD and had been taking medication for a while. And so I thought, well, I live in a really small town, and there's not a lot of resources to how we are able to, just do more in-depth information. I don't think I ever saw that if it wasn't for the internet or, pages like, your page, I believe, is it Russ? Yes, Russ. Just, pages like you, just typing out information, and everything that I saw just felt so real. I was just like, why am I experiencing this? And for a moment there, I thought I didn't have it, just because I was always under the impression that ADHD it was always surrounding the hyperactivity of it. And I just thought that, well, I'm a pretty quiet person. I'm a pretty to myself. I'm fine, right? And then everything just started to click together. I'm like, oh, kind of always in my head, huh? And it just it was definitely a struggle. And I feel I just started taking medication actually a couple months ago, and I'm kind of going through this trial and error. I am taking Vyvanse, and it's been kind of going for me. I'm still just trying to figure it out. I feel I've been able to, pinpoint my emotions and pinpoint how I feel, but I'm kind of in this stitch now where I'm like, what can I do with that? Or what do I do with that? Or how, just finding a way to cope, finding a way to just not be so, sometimes you can be all over the place, and it's beautiful as well, because, I feel like we come up with so many things that lead us to so many open window opportunity of, just creativity and, our workflow, our work ethic, all of that. But it's still an ongoing journey. And so I'm just really excited and really happy that I'm able to, be a part of a podcast with all these beautiful people, from all over the world, and being able to talk about our experiences with it, because it's really hard being an ADHD individual and not being able to talk to anybody about your experiences, or, just be able to be like, do you do that? Oh yeah, me too, And so, it's a great feeling.
Great. Okay.
Hi, I'm Catriona, but if my name is too hard, you can call me Cat. I'm Korean and English, but I've kind of been living around the world. Um, Currently in Switzerland. Uh, since I was young, um, I guess my teachers would always suspect because um, they would always say things like, "Oh, in class she knows all the answers, but then she can't do her homework, she can't do exams, like we're not sure." And they'd always put me into like extra classes. But I didn't grow up in a place where um, I guess learning disabilities were widely known about, and if there weren't many people that can diagnose you. So I wasn't diagnosed until I went to university in the UK, when I was like 19, 20. But I've always been treated as if I've had dyslexia since I was younger. So I had extra time in exams and I could use a laptop kind of thing. Um, but I had no one to like talk to about it. I've been alone with it with other friends who have no idea or no understanding about my issues. So I kind of grew up thinking that it was always me that was the problem. Um, I guess I have a lot of like self-hate, which is not something I wish to have, but I think it's misplaced because the more I learned about ADHD from my friend who has ADHD, he suspected that I also have it when I was explaining my issues that I'm having. Um, it just all made sense. And it's kind of weird because a lot of things that I thought were my personality are actually just symptoms. So I'm kind of like having an existential dread kind of moment like here and there where I'm like, who am I really? Um, but yeah, I'm also an MB and yeah, I applied in 2019 to be diagnosed for ADHD, but the county that I live in doesn't uh doesn't help anyone who's above 18 because I guess there's not enough funding. So I've been on a wait list for a few years, and then a separate, I think like an organization in the UK has reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be diagnosed through an online clinic. But I haven't like gotten all my things sorted because they want like my weights and all this kind of like medical stuff before they can process me. So yeah, hopefully I can get that sorted soon, just so that I can get some help or at least some guidance, because I'm kind of sick of being alone on all of this. But Twitter's been kind of like my safe haven because I just found a lovely community and I don't feel as alone anymore. But yeah, I'm excited to learn about everyone's stories. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad that you're getting through that. You know, you're trying to get diagnosed, and but it sucks that there's such little funding for anybody over 18. That's not
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
like
right.
after education, they're like, okay, bye.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for introductions. That's, you know, we've obviously got a good um, wide range of different personal stories when it comes to being diagnosed or trying to get diagnosed, or our own, like, each person has their unique story when it comes to how they discovered it, how they learned about it, who maybe some, you know, obviously someone told you that they suspect that you have it. I know, like for myself, I've had the thought in my mind that I may have had it to some degree for a number of years. I happen to have a good friend. She's a psychologist, and she thought I had ADHD to some degree. And then with my girlfriend, she suspected I did, and it took over a year and two doctors to finally get the diagnosis. And it when the actual referral was done to our provincial healthcare services, it took about 5 months to get the psychiatrist to do the diagnosis. And it it wasn't just ADHD. She also was like, she did a very thorough examination and wondered if there was any like anxiety based issues. And she was talking like she wanted to know family history. She, you know, like it was a very thorough. It was just about an hour and a half for an interview, and I even have the transcript, which is kind of nice because it gives me a rundown as to her personal thoughts about me and what she felt was necessary. And yeah, she gave me the diagnosis of being inattentive ADHD, which, you know, obviously means that the majority, the vast issue is having focus and concentration problems, and you know, having a problem remembering things when you're told, especially if you're feeling any kind of stress, which really can make it worse. But there was a little bit of hyperactivity involved, usually mostly with being impulsive, which ironically is one of my hardest features to hide from people. So okay, so speaking of that, the first question I would like to ask, and then you guys can ask any questions you want if there's something you're curious about, and we can just discuss. Like, there doesn't have to be question and answers the entire time, and I think that would be kind of boring. So I'll start it off. What do you think was the hardest part of your ADHD diagnosis that really made you think, and that really said, okay, yes, I likely have ADHD? What was that? What was the hardest thing in this for you in your life that convinced you? Like, what did you notice?
For me, well, as I said, Claire diagnosed me, and then I got the referral from my GP and sent it to 3 other places. That didn't work, and I sent to a 4th, and she picked it up. So it only took me maybe 2 months to get a proper diagnosis, and I am on Vyvanse. So for me, when it finally dawned on me that I had ADHD, I just started bawling my eyes out. I've just gone, oh my God, that's why. That's why I am like I am. Like, because I sit there and think, why can't I be so much more like, because I've got a twin sister, why can't I be so much more like my twin? Why is she focused? She's got property. She can visualize her future. She's just organized and great with her money, and I'm completely opposite. So it was very, I just bawled my eyes out. I just like, that's why. And I'm still coming to terms with it. Yeah, which is difficult.
No kidding.
Sorry, could I say something to Debra?
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
also it doesn't help how society is structured for people like us, because I think it's too linear and too fixated on like this tunnel vision of how people should function. And I think a lot of that brings out like really harmful feelings to yourself when you're like, why me? Why am I like this? So I completely understand why you cried.
Yeah, Kat,
I think you should never like compare yourself to others in that way. And it's so hard to not, because I do that too. But yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, see, it's difficult, Kat, because I've got a twin sister where our own ex, so we're fraternal, non-fraternal, I don't know. Anyway, it's difficult to not compare myself to others, because it's quite frustrating for me because they're so focused. It's difficult. It's difficult to not, you know?
Yeah, you feel
think
judged. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
actually,
Right.
just one more point. It's
Yeah.
in my workplace now. I'm starting to get performance managed because of my ADHD.
Sorry,
Sorry, performance what?
yeah.
Performance managed. Okay, so I'm a clinical coder, so I read medical records and I try and make as much money as I can for the hospital. And there's so many concepts, rules, advice, all the time. And I have sticky notes everywhere, and I make notes, and I try to remember as best I can. Some things I just cannot retain. Other things, it takes me a little bit, but I retain it, and other things I just get.
Right.
So, and there's always this quality versus quantity. So the boss wants you to pull out quantity, but because you're so focused and you want to do a good job and you want it perfect, it takes a bit longer. So we've had a couple of meetings. I've ended up doing a couple of PowerPoints, and then he cancelled the last meeting. I've gone, okay, everything's fine. We're on the same page. He knows I've got ADHD. So, and now I've just got another email saying I've got a meeting in 2 weeks regarding my quality and my KPI. Yeah,
Do you think that's just because since your ADHD diagnosis, do you feel like they wouldn't have done that if they didn't know about your ADHD?
Oh, Kim, yes, definitely. And I've actually got HR. I'm talking to them, and I never have before. So, and now I'm trolling through ADHD in the workplace or disability. I don't know, something, but I don't think there's anything there in the workplace.
This is what puts people off actually discussing with their employers that they have ADHD. And I think that's a really good example, or bad example, or whatever, how you put it, where it's just, you know, the idea is supposed to be to support you, and even making you do a PowerPoint presentation, you know, it's probably not really.
Kim, I had to do it to put my point across.
Oh, right, you chose that. Okay.
Yeah, because I think he has no confidence. I think there's a no confidence thing.
Right.
That,
Makes sense.
yeah. Not good for you.
No. So,
anyway.
Wow. Yeah, I actually, I have that reminds me of something, because where I work, we get encouraged to get certifications on areas that are, you know, familiar to our work environment. And I was trying, like, this wasn't this year, this was the year before, and I remember trying to do this, and the entire video and all the information that I was trying to learn was like 12 hours in length. And I just remember going through the first few hours, and I'm sitting there going, this is impossible. I can't remember a lot of the stuff because I'm trying to focus on the video, and I already know I have a very difficult time maintaining just one thing at a time and listening the whole time and being able to stay on topic. And I'm like, I got to go through 12 hours of this. I have a hard enough time going through 2 or 3 hours at a time maximum. And I just remember going, like, when I had my yearly review with my manager, and I just said, there's just no way I can do it. I can't concentrate on it. I can only get so far. It and I'm sitting there going, this would be impossible. I'd get through the 12 hours and it would be over 3 weeks of watching, and there's no way I'd be able to remember everything. And I know I'd fail. And this year I just didn't even bother, because I'm like, I just know I'm not going to be able to do this. It's not going to work. And yeah, it makes you feel self-conscious, because you got all these other coworkers that are getting these certifications, and they're making it easy, and I'm this one person who just can't seem to do it. But yet I don't want to tell anybody. I really am, and my doctor even said, unless they ask, don't really tell them about it, because they're going to change their perspective on you. They're going to all of a sudden go, oh, this guy's got ADHD, and they might take that into account whenever they're thinking about maybe doing a promotion or putting you higher, like maybe managerial or something, and they're going to look at that and go, that this person's got an ADHD. I don't know if I really want to look at that, but there's someone else who could just be as qualified, who can focus properly and concentrate and do this work. So there's that hesitation to tell people, to let my employers know that I have this.
I think that's
go ahead.
because they're valuing regurgitation of information rather than whether or not you fully understand what you're doing. Because that's kind of why I changed in high school my course. It was A levels, and then I changed it to half International Baccalaureate IB and half BTEC, because BTEC did more coursework. And I realized a lot of people, even who aren't ADHD, once they've done their exam, like they forget everything that they just regurgitated. It's like, okay, I'm done. And your system just flushes it out, but it's not knowledge that's stuck with you. It's just for that little burst of getting everything out onto an exam paper. So yeah, I think it depends on what field you're in and how your company or whoever is valuing what is knowledge and what is being smart.
Right. Yeah, Wendy, you were going to say something. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I had that same experience, Russ, exactly what you described. I was in line for a promotion, and my manager was talking to me about, how he was going to build this team. It was obvious he had me in mind to lead this team. And at one point I confided in him, several weeks later, that I had ADHD, and he has a son who has ADHD, who's maybe a freshman in college or senior in high school, I don't know, around that age. And then things changed. And now he started talking about this position, and the open position is actually above me, and the description of the position sort of eliminated me as an option, because it was heavy on a specific skill set that in my profession would be viewed as a niche of what I do. So, it's one small subset of the 15 to 20 years experience that I have in design. So it just, of course, my first reaction was, well, what has changed? Why are we talking about this now in the abstract, and that there's someone else going to be, moved into the level above me? And the only option that's for me is, because I had that conversation and I opened up to him, and I thought it was a good thing that he had a son with ADHD. And my employer is all about, stigma free. They're very open. They want to accept you for who you are with whatever you bring to the table. But in practice, my experience is that's not quite true.
Oh, Wendy.
That's not fair.
Wendy, I said the same thing to my boss. I'm an open book, right? This is what's happening with Debra, okay? And so that was when I was diagnosed officially August last year. And he disclosed to me that he's going through it with his daughter. So it makes sense. Because he can see his daughter and her actions or personality or whatever she does and thinks, okay, well, they all do it. They must all do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's not right. It's true. They all talk about inclusiveness and equal opportunity, and yet, if that truly were the case, people would be afraid of telling their boss or their manager that they have this, they have ADHD. It's imagine yourself being diagnosed, like not ADHD, but imagine being diagnosed as a high functioning autistic person and going to your manager and saying, yeah, I'm high functioning autism, and all of a sudden their opinions and how they think of you change. Like even it's not like they're just going to go, oh yeah, okay, well, so what? They're still going to think of you differently, even if you tell them. It doesn't matter how open or how like they want to equal opportunities or give everybody the same chance. That will be in the back of their mind, even if you're going for a job that requires a lot of responsibility and management type position. They're still going to have that in the back of their minds, wondering if the ADHD that you have is going to affect your ability to be in that role, if that's suitable for you. And it's really not fair, because you could be perfect for it. It's just that you may require a bit of extra like work, or maybe a bit of extra breaks, or changing the way you do your day to day compared to somebody else who doesn't have it. Like it
A lot of it comes from them not knowing, isn't it? Like you're saying, like they don't understand it enough, so they imagine what it could be, and they just think, well, that's going to cost my business either money or time, and they like predictability. That's how business models are built. They like reliable, predictable, repeatable. And we're anything but that's those processes. But we give so much. Like we talk about hyper focus, where we can do 80%, 20%, 20% of our time, we get 80% of our. So we can do so much in that time, which they don't seem to appreciate. That if you're going to have those down days, that's okay, because they're used to a workforce who can just do the same every day, 9 to 5, and they can predict it. So I think it's a lack of understanding and really being quite open to not knowing, the results people can produce, because when we don't know, and we have more creativity and we can do so much more with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's great that we're talking about, having ADHD and being in a work environment, because I feel like I haven't really seen much of that, and to talk about it here feels great, because I feel like that's kind of what sparked my journey into getting a diagnosis. I've always had a lot of short-term jobs since I was about 16, and I just wondered, why can't I stay there, like a year or two, like other people? Why can't I, just perform the same as, people that are able to? And I think that's just one of the main things that really sparked it up for me, because there was just the point where, oh my gosh, like I would go through training and I'm like, what did you just say? I'm like, after the entire training, I'm like, I need like a couple days process that, because I'm like, and so and I feel that really brought me down, just not being able to have a stable, sorry, my cat, just have a stable job, be a stable individual, and completing. Oh my god.
You find your workarounds. You do. I know when we have Zoom meetings, I always ask for slides so I can go back to it. Just little thing Vicky, my twin, helped me with it. Actually, Claire started the workflow for me because I need time sets and boundaries. So there's things that you try so hard to do to be able to not have this stigma around you because you're disclosed.
Yeah, or
and
like
you're
you're
being
lazy,
honest.
or they think you're lazy, or they think
Or
like you just
yeah, why don't you get it? Why don't you, and we're all this, we always,
you can just look on their face, or like, I'm about to fire you right now, and I'm like, please don't, no, but yeah, it's just that anxiousness. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else here is also dyslexic, but I kind of find it interesting how if I confide in people that I'm dyslexic, it's like them seeing me like having a vision issue and I just need glasses and I'm sorted kind of thing. Like it's a part of my experience, but it's not who I am. But I feel like when I say that I have ADHD, people take that more like a personality thing. Like it's not something I'm living with, it's who I am. And I just find that really interesting because they're both learning disabilities. And they're pretty similar on the spectrum, but I think a big part of that is people's awareness of what ADHD is. And I think people's general consensus of dyslexia is like a reading issue, which it isn't, but it's just a well-known thing. So they're just like, oh, okay, it's just you need help with reading. That's it.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I've only just sort of realised this late last year. Like I haven't read a novel for a little while, a couple of years now, but when I'm reading something, do you say to yourself, what have I just read? And then you realise that you've been daydreaming or thinking about something else. Now, I've only just realised this is what I do. They didn't say that this is an ADHD.
It could be an ADHD thing because dyslexia, there's different types of it, but for my type, its words are like disappearing and appearing, and I'm skipping sentences and I can't realize that I am, and that's why it makes no sense. But I fully understand the one where you're trying to read and you're reading and it's going in your head, but you have no idea what you were just reading. So that might be the ADHD side.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Wow.
But yeah, if you experience some sort of like blackout when you're reading, you're kind of just like,
yeah. It's like in cartoons
out?
when people are talking, it's like wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like you're reading the words, you're reading it, you're reading that paragraph, and you think you're retaining it, you think you're reading it, but you're not. Because the only reason I know I'm not reading it is I've just gone back and gone, what did I just read?
Yeah,
Anyway.
If I'm reading a novel, I definitely get immersed into it. It's sort of that hyper focus turns on, and I am in that world. And I read mostly, sci-fi fantasy. So,
Forget drink.
If I'm reading something really boring, I definitely have to reread and reread. For it to, and maybe sometimes I have to just stop and give up and say, I'm just going to write what I just learned from that paragraph. So I force myself to give myself an assignment. Basically, you're going to have to summarize this paragraph. So I actually can take it in if I have to. I mean, obviously my first instinct is to say, this isn't really that important. If I can't absorb the information, I'm going to put it aside. If it's something I absolutely have to, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, the hyper-focus thing, it definitely is, that's something that I think a lot of people with ADHD tend to experience or quite often. But the funny thing is and I actually just released on Friday. I released an episode on ADHD in regards to motivation, and where like kids have a lot of problems with this because, and they're more so because they have such a they have a lot of kids have chores, or they have homework they've got to do every night, and they often, kids a lot of times, and myself included, a lot of times had to be like forced to do homework, and I would much rather play a video game or just go outside and do something that was fun to me. And when I became an adult, I was noticing that motivation, like, and everybody says this, is that they find something new, or they find something that they've discovered, and they find it to be exciting and really fun, but they get so hyper focused into it, and they do it amazingly well, and then all of a sudden, but the problem is and then with me is that, as I've been told, it's like I become automated, or I become like kind of robotic in other aspects. Like, I may be hyper focused on doing a chore and get through it and work on it really well. But if I'm being talked to, like if they're trying to have a conversation with me, there's 9 out of 10 times I'm not gonna be really remembering much of the conversation, because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and my ability to pull away from that task is very difficult, because even when I step away and I'm kind of looking at them and trying to listen to them, my mind is still on doing what I'm on, the task that I'm working on. So I'm not really paying attention. It looks like I am, but in reality, I'm actually not. And it's such a hard time pulling away from it, because of the fact that you get into that hyper focus. And I know it sounds kind of funny, but I really enjoy cleaning. Like, I'm not a one of those people that likes to be super clean in the house necessarily, but when it comes to doing the cleaning, it's like I know I have to do it. So it's like a single task, right? You focus on it, you do it. You're so into the cleaning that you don't even think about anything else. If there's noise, there's distraction, and on top of it, I prefer listening to music or podcasts to help keep me focused, and I'm basically like useless to anybody else for that time frame. Now, everybody has their own. They call it a I don't know, like an activity or a something that they really love to do, like something that they find so interesting, and so like that hobby that they do all the time that they're really, really good at, right? Like, have you ever had that situation where you get introduced to something, like you find a new hobby, or you find, like, let's say you like to you read for a while, right? You find these books and they're really interesting, and then you start reading them, and then all of a sudden, maybe a week or two later, you kind of start to lose you lose that same level of interest, and then next thing you know, you're stopped, and you haven't looked at the book in a month, right? And you're finding something else, and it kind of repeats, and it's like a circle. You're always finding some other project or something else that you love to work on, but you only do it for so long. And
totally agree
yeah.
there, Russ. I've got about maybe 5 or 6 projects on the go at the moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's accidental. For example, one of my neighbours gave me to clean your windows, one of these new things. So it started with the windows. Then it started painting the frames.
Yeah.
Then it started putting and it's still going. And then it just sits there. And then I look at it. And that, that could sit there for 2 months. And I don't care. Do not care. I'm happy for it to sit there for 2 months or 3 months. Does not bother me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like that.
I know a majority of people in the world, like they talk about addiction and whatever, but I've never found the word to explain what it's like for me. And I feel like I have the opposite of addiction because no matter how much I enjoy or love something, if I do it too much in a short period of time, I get sick of it. Like with food or an activity, a game, it doesn't matter. I think my long span of hours is like 2 hours playing a game, and then I'll just get sick of it, or I'll start even like hating it.
Wow.
So what I kind of do is I alternate the foods I eat or the activities I'm doing, but I have a lot in my arsenal that I'm interested in, but I'm never doing them to the point where I'm getting sick of them because I don't want that to happen to things I love.
Right. Now, do you think like I don't know how much knowledge you are regarding the chemical science behind it. Um, I when I was researching for my topic, they were saying that you're because everything that's new to you, that is the first time or you go back to it, when you experience it and you find it exciting, you get a dopamine rush, you get that hit in your mind where you've got that chemical that makes you feel good. That's what I think that's the addiction part of it, where they if it's so exciting, you get that dopamine hit, and you feel that feeling of, wow, this was so awesome. And then, but the problem is that your brain gets it it can't regulate it, and it also your brain starts to, it's like it's getting used to it. And like anything else, and unless you increase or you do more, which for ADHD is obviously it's a difficult task. It starts to wane off, and it starts to decrease and go lower, and that's where that being sick of it or losing interest and becoming bored with that particular subject or that particular event occurs, because you need a new dopamine hit in your brain, that chemical hit, to regain that interest. And because it's something that you've done over and over and over, you're just not, your brain just doesn't see it the same way as it did when it was brand new. And that's why I've seen so often, so many times in cases where people just they get bored and they have to find something new. And unless it's a talent that you're really good at, and you find so exciting, and you can't stop, which is it's a talent, or like a superpower, I guess you could say. It's, yeah, you're gonna end up having half a dozen or a dozen new hobbies every year, because you find that it's fun for the first while, and then it drops. And that happens with relationships as well. And I don't know your relationship histories, but that tends to happen, is you meet that new person, and you've got that feeling that you get, like, oh, he or she's a great new person, and you're so into them, but then all of a sudden you're used to them, and you start to have that drop, and next thing you know, you're no longer into them. Yeah, they're nice to hang out with, but that's that same level of excitement and joy and love that you have is not there anymore, and now you're bored of them, and it is very common. I have a feeling some of you've probably been through that.
Yeah, I'm actually in a relationship with my significant other who also has ADHD, and she's actually on
Wow.
the more hyperactivity side of the spectrum, and I'm on more of the calm. And yeah, we've definitely also have had our challenges. And we've been open and honest about each other, because I know she's not, you know, she hasn't gone through the assessment, but her siblings have ADHD as well. More than likely, it's all there with the communication, with everything that we go through. I've experienced that too, where I just feel like there just comes a point where I feel like I need something else, like there's something missing in the relationship. it feels like there's something missing. But although this person supports me so much, like we both support each other so much, like I've never been in such a loving and healthy relationship, there's that thing where you just feel like there's always something missing, like there's some hole in there. And also not only just, coping with your own emotions, but as well as, with each other. There's times where, my significant other is just, talking and just talking, like she can talk a lot and I love it. It's great. But there's some times where I feel I get really agitated or I feel really irked. Like I go through this emotional, what is it? Is it the dysregulation to where
Yeah.
I build up with that tension where I'm just like, I need to step away right now because I feel very overstimulated. Every time we're in a situation like that, we just yell out, we're like, I'm overstimulated. I got to go to the other room. I'm so sorry. And we'll just walk away from each other. But at the end of the day, I mean, we'll just come together. But it's still, yeah, it's pretty hard to tackle. So I feel you on that.
I think
Yeah.
it's really important, not only with significant others, but also friends, where they allow you to be you and you can just sit in a room together and not do anything with each other, but you're just cool. I think it sounds boring, but if like it has to be good when things are good, but it also has to be good when things are bad, because that's when like they're okay with all the sides of you. Like, I'm not feeling good, I don't really want to talk or whatever, but they're like cool with it, then you don't feel the pressure and the stress to like be someone you're not, and then you're less
Totally.
exhausted, so that you can spend more time with people as well. Because even with people I love, I can't be with them 24/7. And I never get bored of them. It's just maybe I'm like numb or overstimulated or whatever, but in the end of the day, communication is the number one.
Absolutely. Yeah, communication is very difficult. It your mind has so many thoughts and so many ideas, and I know for myself I have a hard time like expressing my thoughts in the correct words, and I often say either the wrong word or I even have said the wrong sentence. I'm trying to express how I'm thinking or what my ideas are, and it often I have a difficult time getting it out so that it means the right thing to what I'm thinking, and that it makes sense. And if it doesn't, like if I, and it so often I have that problem where it doesn't make sense, it's that level of frustration goes up so fast. Like it's so quick to be frustrated, and you're just like, oh my Lord, like, why can't I, I'm always having this problem. Why can't I just communicate? Why can't I just say the right words? And
like you're like a stumble away from like stumbling over a word and just being like, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Do you
Of course
interrupt? Because I've just interrupted now, because I'll forget the question.
Yes.
Do you do that as well? It's just, anyway.
Yeah, often.
She does that. She will interrupt me a lot sometimes, and although like I said, everything is out there in the open, but like she will interrupt me a lot, and it's funny because it just goes hand in hand, because I get overstimulated with that, and then I'm just like, I just want to talk. I'm like, but I'm also like, yeah, like I'll listen to her speak, but yeah, I've dealt with that.
I have another question.
Sure.
So I don't really care what my house looks like, if it's clean, tidy, messy, whatever. And for example, there's a little step ladder in my way. Do I put it away? No. I move it to a different spot. And then when I'm in that spot, maybe a couple of days later, I'll pick it up and move it to a different spot. Does anyone else do that? I just, yeah, thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I know. That's
Describe it as is there are times where I feel like I'm walking through the house and I have tunnel vision. So everything around me is out of focus, and the only thing in focus is probably really what's in my mind, what I'm thinking of at the time. And only when I trip over something is it actually in focus. But I mean, there are times where I realized, especially if I have someone who's coming to visit, that's the magic solution for me, is to invite company over, because then I can see my surroundings through their lens and not through my own. And then I'm like, oh my God, those boxes that have been in that corner for over a month need to go away. And then I see all the things that normal people probably don't live this way. But I also feel like there's I have a tendency, and I know that this is a common trait for people with ADHD, is to misplace items. And so there's something, I recognize this weird thing that happens when I enter my home and I have my keys in my hand or my glasses in my hand, and I have a task in my mind of what I'm going to do. Like maybe I'm going to, I just walked in the house, maybe I'm going to go get a drink of water. But my mind, in the back of my mind, says, you have something in your hand, get rid of it. And it drops wherever it's convenient. And so, but mentally, I have not registered that I've just put my glasses in some weird place, like on the sink or something like that I'll never find again. So I have this trick where I tell myself out loud, you're putting the glasses on the sink. And by saying it out loud, now I've seen it happen and I've heard myself say it just happened. And so one of those two things will click later on when I'm looking for my glasses, either the vision, the sight of where it was, or hearing someone tell me where it was myself.
Yeah. That's actually that's quite smart. Yeah, because that's true. You come in the house, especially if you've had a long day. It's, if you're feeling tired or you're not at at 100%, yeah, you're likely to be forgetful where you're putting anything, and then next thing you know, when you're looking for it again, you have no idea. You're just stuck.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's because my mind is just focused on whatever that task is, that I'm probably letting the dogs out or something, but it's going to be hard for me to turn the handle and open the door if I have stuff in my hand, so they just have to go away.
Yeah. Totally.
Wow. Can I change the subject for a sec?
Absolutely.
So I started by Vans in late November, early December. Okay. So prior to that, I used to lay in bed, just go, there's my 5 alarms. I don't really want to work today. No, go to work. No, I'll just have an ADO. No, you better get up and go to work. No, I don't really feel like it. Maybe I should call in sick. So all these fighting inside my head every morning to get up and get to work. But since starting by Vans, I have noticed that that's erased completely out of my morning. Completely. Which is huge for me. Huge.
Wow.
You all have like tactics for when you're struggling to get out of bed or starting to do something?
No, this is all new to me. I'm trying. I'm actually inundated with so much information, and then I start doing something, and then I've got to input all this data, and I get confused, and it's just, there's just so much out there.
So just like with things that I like, I do have different methods of like what helps me break free from that mini prison. But I have different methods because even if it's the same issues of why I can't do something, it doesn't mean that same method would work every day. Like every day is different. So I kind of like have different methods in my arsenal ready for when that happens. And the good thing is to, when you do figure one out, write it down so you keep it handy and you can remind yourself whenever you're in that state of just being stuck.
Interesting. Okay, speaking of adapting, what is a way, or maybe you have a few ways that you have changed routines in your life day-to-day basis that has helped you overcome, like, for example, forgetting your keys or your purse? Like, what do you do every day so that when you're going out the door or you're trying to do your day-to-day, that it allows you to be more successful, or better prepared?
I don't think I've figured out that, so I'd love to hear.
I've always lost my keys. I think in university, like every year, I had to like recut a key. But and then I figured out a way that helps me. So I attached like this fluffy, either a fluffy keychain or like a really long lanyard onto the key. So the key kind of becomes a bigger object. And I can like spot it easily. Like it's like an aqua color, so it's like really easily spottable in my bag. And I've lost it. No, I've misplaced it once, but it's the longest I've kept the same set of keys, which has been like 4 years, which is a record for me. But yeah, keys are not fun to remember, so you can make it fun, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else have their own adaptations?
For me, I feel like it really just depends on the day. There was a year where I lost my credit card 9 times, and I counted each time I lost it. It was about 9 times. And
Wow.
yeah, and so that's kind of also bringing back to like what sparked that journey too, because I was like, this is impossible. How have I lost this card 9 times? I feel like from my experience with routine, I feel like it really, I'm still navigating that, since I've only just been diagnosed about a couple months ago. I think I'm just going through that trial and error period. And also it really just does depend on the time frame. There was honestly about 2 months where after I got medication, I really just started doing things like, I had a whole calendar set up. I wrote things down. I started waking up in the morning. I had alarms going for me. And, like fast forward to now, it's been a couple months later, I feel myself, it's kind of like a domino effect. One thing leads to another. It's either like, I didn't keep my room clean today, and then it just trickles down to, well, my car isn't clean either. And then it just trickles down to, well, I'm too lazy to write on my calendar. And then it kind of just, it stops altogether. And so I feel like I'm actually currently in that situation to where it's like, everything is just such a hassle. It feels like a hassle.
We're just going to take a short break and then come back and we'll continue chatting about ADHD with women.
I just think that it's hard to find motivation right now anyway, because everything is just a total train wreck everywhere. Right?
And it's really hard too, especially, when there's other, what is it? I'm trying to find the word. When there's other underlying diagnosis, like if you have depression,
Yes.
CT, yeah, PTSD. I also have PTSD, and I have PMDD, and so it's kind of like just a lot of, there's a lot of gray areas here, and I think when ADHD becomes a part of that, it's really you're just like, what is going? You know what I mean? It kind of makes everything. Sometimes you go a little crazy because you're like, what is the underlying thing that's happening right now that's causing me to have this problem in my life? Why can't I fix this problem?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that would, for me, at least, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of external factors out there. Like I suffer from anxiety, and I've suffered from it my entire life. It just wasn't. I didn't really realize that it was that bad until like or about a couple years ago. But I didn't really focus on it as much as I probably should have, because I was working on complex trauma and I was working on my ADHD, and then I was trying to focus on autism, and it really only kind of came into focus more on the anxiety when I had a long chat with a relative about my issues, and she was constantly really emphasizing the anxiety, and it it didn't really make sense until I was thinking about, yeah, I've been on this medication now, and I for ADHD, and I feel more focused. I feel like I can concentrate better. I have better self control and direction, but I still feel anxiety. Like the doctor, I remember him saying when I was starting the medication that it could help with anxiety. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll take the medication and we'll see what happens. And I'm I'm up as high as 50 milligrams on my Vyvanse, and I'm still feeling anxiety, and it's not like a little bit, it's like a lot. And I'm going, this is driving me crazy, because I can focus, but there's still times where I can't. Like the second I get any kind of anxious feelings in my system, all of a sudden I can't focus as well. I forget things. I'm in a conversation, and I'm asked to kind of like repeat what's been said, and I'm like sitting there going, uh, I think I remember 20% of it, and I'm like, this is driving me crazy. So I was like, okay, I've obviously got to take care of this, because the ADHD, like you said, it's not just one thing. You don't just have ADHD. Like there might be that person out there that could be lucky enough to just have the one, but there's a good chance that they do have something else. Maybe they're autistic, because there's apparently now there's this thing. There's a study out there where there's a lot of people who have ADHD that may not have, or have an undiagnosed autistic spectrum disorder as well, or they suffer from child trauma, like trauma from their youth, or they've got dyslexia, or they've got bipolar disorder. Like there's a number of different things that are going on, and they it's so complex. It's so difficult to know how to handle it, because you sit there and you say to yourself, is it my ADHD? Is it trauma? Is it autism? Is it the anxiety? And you're going in a vicious circle, and if you could call a doctor or a psychiatrist at a moment's notice and not have to worry about them, gouging you for money every time, assuming you don't have coverage, it's difficult on your own to just sit there and figure this out. And you're going to end up stressing yourself out so much because you're worrying and you're thinking about it. And of course you're obsessing about this whole, what is it? What is wrong? Why am I feeling this way? Why does this not work? Why does that, it's so frustrating. And it builds up, and it really affects your self-esteem and that confidence.
Like it worsens your anxiety. You know what I mean? You become so hyper focused on, just your feelings and your responses to people. The way that you're just handling every single thing. It's like you're just paying attention to every detail. We're just trying to figure out a problem, and it's like there's so many things that link to it. So yeah.
See, that's strange because for me, I don't really care what people think about me. I'll own it if I do something wrong. I will admit something if I've done something wrong. But I really don't care what people think about me. It hurts when you get pigeonholed as of late, but that's a new emotion for me at the moment. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a little bit of anxiety as well at work, and it's brand new. So I thought I was a very good public speaker earlier in my life, and then I started here, and there were for the first time in my life people in my team or in the group I'm presenting for who were a little bit antagonistic. And so having that just tiny little bit of a stressor would bring on anxiety. And so I would almost feel like I was having a panic attack when I had to give a presentation live. So I've had many humiliating experiences where my brain just says, I'm done, and you're going to just make a fool of yourself up here. And I had started to work on that, of course, thinking I just need public speaking training and better skills. And I don't know why I lost all those skills. And I just realized that it was just anxiety that I had to better manage and prepare for. So, I definitely rehearse for public speaking. But even when I'm not in that situation where I have the time and the luxury of preparing and rehearsing what I'm going to say, if I'm just in a meeting and people are, exchanging ideas and thoughts freely, my brain sometimes will just stop. It will just say, nope, I know you want this word, but I'm not going to give you that word. I'll give you all these words that sound like that word. And so it's just like, it again brings on a little bit of that anxiety where I have to just take a moment or write something down, because for some reason, words flow really easily when I'm typing them or writing them freehand. But when I'm speaking, there's a barrier. So it's just like the brain just doesn't want to pull out the file that contains that exact word that I need, even though I know the word, So I just, that's the thing where I think, okay, there's no coping mechanism that's going to help my brain, retrieve data in a better way. So that's why I'm considering, I'm very curious about, what people are taking for medication. And so if there's an option where I can just take medication when it's needed, when I know I need to be on at work, not, those days when I can just sit quietly at my computer and design, because I'm a designer. I don't need it for that. I just need it for when I have a stressful meeting coming up. Go ahead.
Oh, I think, because you're not allowed to stop. My psychiatrist says don't take one out of the month to give your the brain firing a bit of a break. Yeah. But I don't know if there's such one that you can just take and you're going to be for the day. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something that's like a day to day where off and on. Because I know that I remember being told that if you are taking your medication on a regular basis and then you go off of it, you kind of have it's just like if you suddenly drop taking a pain medication or I can't think of the right word, but you kind of have side effects, like a withdrawal symptom if you suddenly go off your medication. There have been some people who say that you can take a break, like you could do like a weekend off or kind of thing where you don't have to take it during the weekend. I've heard of that before, but
that's actually highly recommended, Russ, by my psychiatrist.
To
Just
take
to
for
give your
5
brain.
days? Okay.
Beg your pardon, Wendy?
So you take it for 5 days and then 2 days you take nothing.
No, I take it every day because I just can't cope not.
But yeah, you could.
think-
Like,
Oh,
you could take a break.
okay.
Like, you could take a break for a weekend if you don't want to feel the effects that the medication has on you. You can definitely take a break for a couple days. There's no
So
harm
my-
in that.
I think
My
people just need
psychiatrist
to
has taken.
remember.
Sorry.
I think people just need to remember that even the same diagnosis or the same medication will work different for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, it takes time for you to find the one that works for you. Because like I've had different antidepressants and some of them just made me not have depression as much, but it just took away like me. Like I became like a shell, like a zombie, and just super numb. And it's fixing one thing but giving you more issues. So yeah, it takes a while where you need to find something that you still feel like you, but it's just aiding your symptoms and not just like canceling you as a whole.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think my anxiety medication is doing is it's making the emotions less like working than what they used to, and I'm getting used to it. Like I don't know if this continues in a month, then I may have to change, but I'm still getting used to the introduction of the medication into my system because it's only been 2 weeks, so it's not like I'm a month or two into it. So I don't know what to think about the side effects, but yeah, it's making the ADHD less. Like I can focus way more, and I have way better concentration. While now that I'm on the anxiety medication, it's just that it's affecting me in a personal way, especially in my relationship because of the fact that I'm not feeling angry, I'm not feeling sad really. I'm just kind of like when your response is to be an empathetic or an emotional response, and I'm going, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing that. It doesn't, it's doing the opposite of what I'm really needing.
Yeah, I mean,
Does your partner have ADHD also? Just quickly.
No, unfortunately she does not. No, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Sorry, that's no, she doesn't. She has other unrelated issues that she suffers from trauma, so she has her own problems that she's dealing with as well. So it also does play into it, but it's mostly the fact that my medication's kind of taking my ability to feel the emotions. It's taking it out of the equation, unfortunately.
I finally found an antidepressant that didn't numb me. But the thing is, emotions are a good thing, even if they are negative. Because it's indicating to you that there's something, like there's a reason why, unless it's just a chemical imbalance. But like say if you're getting physical symptoms of anxiety, is it because of the way you think, or if something happened, or if it's just a physical sensation? All of that matters into how you can manage things. But medication should never take away your ability to drive your own car, like your body. I think a good antidepressant is able to disassociate your mind from your emotions, so you can analyze it, like put your little science hat on and see what's going on, instead of being drowned out by all your emotions and having your emotions control you instead.
Yeah, totally understand. I get that.
Spot on. I had PTSD through domestic violence, and I was started on antidepressants 5.5 years ago. So it made me take away that feeling of despair. How am I going to get through the court process? How everything. It took away that edge, so I could focus on what I needed to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because
to anyone?
antidepressants doesn't take, well, I don't think it does, but it doesn't take away my depression or my anxiety. It just allows me to be the driver of my car instead of just a passenger.
Interesting.
Still going through a shitty road, but you know, I at least have some control.
What medication are you taking, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm actually curious.
Sertraline?
Sorry? Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat.
Okay.
That way, yeah.
What about you, Russ? What do you
It's actually kind of a funny name. It sounds like it's Excite. Like, it's escitalopram, I believe. I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, but it's an antidepressant.
Has anyone ever tried Prozac? I've seen so many. I mean, obviously, you know, like medication is to each their own, right? It's a trial and error part. Do you guys ever see, you know, just like widely known, you know, antidepressants or like anxiety medication that is so helpful to so many people? And it's like when it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of just like, why? I feel
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it was one of those for me.
I mean, people who do meditation or therapists, they all go, "Oh, you should do breathing exercises." But my latest therapist was really like intuitive, and she would ask me how I felt after following the breathing exercises, and I told her my anxiety got worse and I was more breathless. And then we found a way to make a breathing exercise that fits me rather than me trying to fit the exercise. And I don't feel that like dizziness from trying to do breathing exercises anymore.
It's so
That's
difficult
interesting.
finding stuff out there that works just for you. Like you
Yeah,
go
I mean,
through
they
and
say
try
like
so
8
many
glasses
things.
of water, but everyone's different, you know?
Yeah.
Wait, so
No
like,
kidding.
does anybody have a hyperfixation on, I would say, a food? Okay, so like I don't obviously
Oh my God.
I smoke nicotine, and I'm not an enabler whatsoever. I actually feel really embarrassed when I'm out in public, and I got my vape right here, but it's something that it's just hyperfixated on so much. I mean, I know it's a part of addiction as well, but I feel like it's one of those things as well where I'm just like, it's really hard for me to stop hyperfixating on things, especially
I go
food.
through phases. So, you know, right now I'm on a Diet Pepsi fixation. Like if I just feel like I'm bored or something, I'm like, I need a Diet Pepsi. And then I'll stop everything and just go get one if I don't have them in the house. It's not something I can deny myself in that moment.
No, I mean, I'm literally, so my town is really small, right? And I kid you not, I'm literally a regular at almost every restaurant in town because I go through really bad hyperfixations where I eat one restaurant for literally months at a time. And they're like, "Oh, hey, that's Alex. What's up, Alex? How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good." You know what I mean? And it's like, oh my gosh, like I hyperfixated
Is it the same thing? You order the same thing every time too?
every time. There's no, I see other things on the menu. I'm like, I'm gonna take my, my usual.
Take a rest.
Maybe it's like a soothing thing because it's like I know I like it and I don't have to think about what else I could have to try, and you're just going back to it and it's comfortable.
But then
I wish
you
I
just
could
get
be like
sick of
that
it.
too.
Like I'm into Cadbury chocolate hazelnut at the moment, and that's all I've eaten. Now I'm sick of it. And I've been on it for maybe 2 months now, 3 months. I can't touch it now. But there's phases of craving almost.
I get the cravings, but I can't do what my cravings want me to do because I'll just feel really sick and nauseous.
I think for me, I hyperfixate on food. But when it comes to tasks, even things that I really love listening to, like you going back to what you said, like if I do this task over and over again, it gets to a point where you just get sick of it, like you don't want to do it. Even the thing that you love the most is something that you pretty much take a break from for however long, and it just kind of gets that way. But for food with me though, that's one thing that I can always go back to, and like just eat the same thing over and over. And like it feels so embarrassing because I literally like I apologize about it too to my significant other. Like I'm sorry. All right, yes, we're having Chick-fil-A for like, the same 10 weeks in a row, but like bear with me. I'll get you something else.
Nice. Okay, so here's a question. We're all obviously in different areas of the world, and when I discussed this with the people that I had on last time, it really had a different, the views and their thoughts on it were quite varied because society really has each country and a region, I guess you could say, has a kind of a different opinion or different how they feel about stuff or something that is new or different or like not the norm. So when your family or your friends or your loved ones like that you're with, and even like just strangers or people that you interact with that maybe are just acquaintances, how would you say that they, or even just where you are, when it comes to ADHD, how they accept or their opinions and their beliefs on it, like how does it show when you're around, like, and how does it affect you during your life? Because I know that some places it's not as accepted as other locations, and the stigma is stronger than in another area. So how does it affect you and like in your own location?
Well, for starters, so I live in Texas, as I stated, and the resources here are pretty outdated. When it comes to the mental health, even here in Del Rio, there's only one mental health facility, and there's only about 2 therapists in town, and which I've gone to before, and it was just a lot of head nodding, a lot of just, why don't we make a list? And I'm just like, no, you don't understand. Like it was also, in my beginning of trying to get diagnosed with ADHD and trying to, just talk about everything while dealing with PTSD from as well. I was also in a relationship. And so, it was just a lot of head nodding, not really many useful resources, especially going to a psychiatrist here. I mean, I know, I don't know from my experience, my other friends that have gone to a psychiatrist here, it was a lot of just like answering questions off a piece of paper. And it felt like there was no actual care or no actual feeling there. And which it really sucks because I'm from a town, it's very rural here. A lot of minorities here. There's a lot of underdeveloped facilities here. Nobody really knows because we weren't given those resources. Even my parents or my parents' grandparents, we've never given those resources. Just understand it. And regarding family-wise, I truly do believe that we're one big ADHD family. I feel like my mother and I are like the exact same thing, and my father is more on the ADHD, on the hyperactivity side. He's more hyper-focused. He's very driven around getting tasks done, right, while also being just completely, he won't do something if it doesn't interest him. He won't pay attention to you in any way. And I feel like with my mom, we're kind of like, we're in our own head, but also, just kind of coming together with that. And I feel like it's crazy because my family dynamic, we're all very estranged from each other. And I definitely feel like that stems from us just having ADHD, not being able to communicate, not having the interest to communicate with one another. And yeah, it's crazy. I formed my consensus with my experiences. So yeah.
My family is, my father has passed away, but he had ADHD, never diagnosed, but it's definitely something I've taken from him. My mother is, I have never talked to her about it because I think her reaction would be, that's not a thing.
Right. Yes.
Because that's, been her reaction for other things. Like I had a difficult period of going through menopause, and I had, as a young person, I had terrible PMS, and she didn't believe in either. So how do you talk to somebody like that? Thankfully, though, that there are people in my orbit today who have ADHD, and so there's a lot of opportunity to have conversations about this and share ideas. And in Boston, which is only like an hour away, there's a really great clinic that has an online networking group. So if you have been diagnosed through them, then you can join this group, and that's been just invaluable for people. I'm not part of that because it's expensive to get diagnosed through them. And they're very dedicated to ADHD, but they're also very pricey. So, but it is something that am considering.
Cool. So what about you, Catriona? Like, I know that you're all over. Like, you don't necessarily stay in one place for the longest time, but like, when you were like, have there been any situations where you just feel like they don't understand, or there's a lack of like, awareness, or they're just maybe behind, or?
Yeah, my British family are very posh and I don't know, I guess like Victorian-esque, and I guess I get blamed for a lot of things that I'm going through, and they mean well, but it's, in my opinion, toxic. They're not very understanding, but my Korean side of the family, they're just like, oh, that's just how you are. It's weird because in the UK, mental health has more awareness, and in Korea, it isn't more aware, but it just seems like they're more accepting of it because it's just like, what can you do? It's just how you are, kind of thing. That's why I feel more open when I'm talking to my Korean family about my issues, and with my UK family, I just give them a short, brief thing and try not to talk to them too long about it, basically.
That's not fair. That's not right, but I get it. I understand. Wow. Yeah, I haven't told my family. Like I have a couple extended members that know, but my main family, I don't think they'd really understand it. And as well, I have a feeling they'd probably dismiss a lot of it. So I just tend to not really bring it up. I only talk to people that I believe are going to be understanding and open-minded. And unfortunately, the men in my family aren't.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while for me to learn boundaries because I didn't know I had an issue with that. I just thought I was a very sensitive person, and I guess people didn't realize that they were being mean or whatever. But now
Right.
now I have more awareness of it because of learning about ADHD. I think I'm better at knowing the friends to keep around, and actually, I think my friends enjoy the fact that I'm very talkative and go off tangents and get excited about things. So it's nice to find a group of people where I can be myself and not feel bad about being myself.
Absolutely. That is important because it helps with our own self-esteem, and positivity keeps us, it negative influence on us is only going to hold us back and makes it a lot harder for us to do, to do what we really want to do with our family or with friends.
Yeah, you can choose your friends, but not the family you're born with. But hopefully
Exactly.
people can choose their future families.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
definitely think that for me, the secret is to find somebody who also has ADHD. I sadly lived most of my life thinking about relationships. When I see what, on the surface looks like a healthy relationship, like two people walking down the street who are clearly married and, normal people, I think that that's not for me. That's not something that I can have. And part of that is some of the history of living with my mother, and the chaos I brought to her life. I felt I'm going to bring that same chaos to someone else's life, and I don't want to put them through that. But I am hearing so much more about really healthy relationships where they both have ADHD, and so there's just natural empathy, even though their quirks or whatever you want to call them might be completely different. But yeah, I think that we heard somebody at the dog park just kind of going off on her husband who has ADHD and how difficult it was to live with him, and I just it sort of really made it very clear to me that you really have to have more than just compassion. I mean, you have to live it. You have to experience it to really understand it, and to be able to make it work. That's my feeling. I know I'm sure there are people out there who they found great people who are just very loving. But
I think neurotypicals also have a lot of baggage and issues, but there's just no like bundled title for it.
I agree. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people out there who have their own, like you say, they have their own issues, and a lot of them probably have never been either gone to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and have never really had any sort of even an informal suggestion or diagnosis for anything, let alone ADHD. And at least the one thing that we do have is that we do have an understanding of how our minds tend to work, and the things that the struggles that we go through every day. And it's like, if we're not feeling our best, if we're kind of feeling down, or if we're feeling a little sick, it's gonna be a bigger struggle for us than if we're having a really great day. If we're feeling nice, awake, and we've had a great night's sleep, if we're able to get that, we feel so much better and things are so much easier for us. But we still are going to have moments where our symptoms are going to come through, and there's nothing we can really do about it. Just even if we are on the medication, it's not going to be 100% effective. Like, the stats out there show that for adults taking medication, it's only about 40-ish% that have full effect of their medication on them when they take it, and the rest of them, it's like half of it. Like, they get a lot of relief, but they never get full relief. So when you're living with a person who's supposedly a neurotypical, and they have a lack of understanding, or they're not very compassionate, or they're not very patient with you, it definitely takes its toll. Because if you start to feel like they're not really listening to you, or they're not really caring, or they don't think that you're taking this seriously, or they might even think that you don't really have it. Like, and you just have to, it can be extremely stressful, and unfortunately you can definitely start to like have anxiety come up, or you might even have trauma related symptoms, you know, down the road, because you're constantly feeling like you just don't fit in with that person, or especially with their friends or their family, you know, like it's difficult to find that person or that group of people who understand and accept you as you are. And that can be very disheartening on someone if they've never really had it.
I think people need to remember, whether you're in a relationship or just a friendship, like any kind of relationship is two-sided.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who have learning disabilities, and especially didn't grow up diagnosed or had any idea, you put a lot of blame on yourself, and others also easily put a blame on you because it's normal to do that as well. So it's just like a double whammy of you just feeling so negative. But I think we need to accept that we tried as much as we can. And I don't think we should be in one-sided relationships, even in friendships, because it's just not healthy. I think it's very harmful to yourself as well. I think everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt and just a safe environment to explain yourself, because everyone can make mistakes. Like, I'm dyslexic and sometimes I say the wrong word or say it in a way that people take it the other way. And I noticed a lot of neurotypicals don't give me the benefit of the doubt and don't let me explain. And a lot of neurodivergents do, but you can find people that are NT that are understanding. It takes a long time to find one that you can trust, because you kind of already have that memory of people being in a certain way. But I think every relationship is a work in progress, and I really hope that everyone here at least can find one friend that will understand and just ask what you meant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. I had a friend that I thought was very, very compassionate toward, you know, people with ADHD, and her husband has a lot of ADHD, or has it. And I was feeling very grateful to have her as a friend because of this experience that she has. But what happened was that over time, I realized that this person, you know, that people can, they can give agency, or they can take agency away. And so this person took agency away because she had this need to be helpful. And so she would always view me with that lens of, oh, my friend Wendy has ADHD. I can help her with her day-to-day stuff. But she needed to be helpful. That was just her own, you know, psychology or whatever, but she, it became imbalanced. So the relationship was, I was the needy, you know, very, not quite capable of taking care of myself. And she was, you know, the big sister. She even considered me a little sister, even, you know, we're very close in age. But yeah, it just, I started to distance myself because I felt that, you know, this person was taking agency away from me and not giving me credit for the things that I can do, and not saying she's got this, you know, it's, but getting you know, almost angry if I wouldn't allow her to be you know, of assistance to me in some way. I can help you, you know, organize this room or move your furniture or whatever, you know, small thing it was. And yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of sneaky. It's sort of, it snuck up on me where I started to feel like I wasn't happy in that friendship, and I didn't know why. And then I started to look at things like, the other things about her, I was angry at her for, because she, coughed and didn't cover her mouth, or, there were little things that I would pick up on, because to be angry at her for wanting to help me, I mean, that sounds like I'm being selfish, like, of course, why would you be angry at someone who just wants to be helpful? They're just trying to help you. They're being kind to you. But no, that kindness becomes a burden. And,
Yeah.
that agency is so important. And I'm very focused on that now when I meet new people.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know exactly what agency means, but I guess you mean like autonomy. Because even if you had a friend who has a wheelchair, you should ask them if it's okay for you to help push them, because it's their body. It's like an extension of their body. And I feel like it's the same with any other things. Like even with MTs, I will be like, hey, do you want advice or do you want comfort? I always am communicating, what do you want from me? What can I offer? Rather than assuming what they need, because they are their own person.
That's great. That's great. And I think you have that, you have that ability to, consider that person's feelings because of the experiences you have. But a lot of NTs make a lot of assumptions, I think. So.
I think
Yes.
well, it's about communication, and even bringing that up. You know what I mean? Like obviously, I know a lot of people have this thing where they feel this like panic to help. When somebody talks about their either inability to do something, or just whatever they're going through. And I think it's just really important to just have that conversation together and be like, hey, like I know, you really want to help me, but I would appreciate, this is my boundary. I think just making it known that this is your boundary. And, it's got to be 50-50, just making that communication. Right. So, yeah.
Debra,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't hear you.
Oh. Yeah, we can't hear you, Deb. Sorry.
No, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I think you got to switch your mic on. I think it might be to the way you had it. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing how I know neurotypicals, they do make a lot of assumptions based on what they see, because they're not necessarily they're kind of afraid to ask questions or to get a broader understanding from us, and so they make assumptions and then they judge us without truly knowing the whole story, and it can be hurtful, especially if you think you've always believed that they were someone who was on your side or believed in you or was being supportive, and then all of a sudden you find out that they're not being that way. Yeah, kind of. That's really unfortunate, and it doesn't do well for us. So it's too bad that there's still a long way to go to such a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it in a ways. Like I know, personally, like for me, like when I come across people who have this sense of like panic, or that feel this need to make an assumption about me, I try to just understand that maybe they're not really taking into consideration about what I go through, and that's because they haven't been in that headspace themselves. But Wendy said, like I kind of just choose to keep this sort of like space between us, and maybe even try to like instill that that idea, kind of just talk to them, have that conversation about it. That this is where I am, and this is how I'm feeling. And I know you probably have never been in the situation, but I just want to voice that to you right now. And I think that's kind of where your relationship goes with that person, is just figuring out how they're going to go about that, and how you both are just going to go about the situation.
I tried. We did have the conversation many times, and I kept reiterating, I don't need you to help me with this. I'm just telling you about it, So
Yeah, definitely when it comes to that point where it's just a very repetitive behavior, there's no actual change. That's definitely a situation where you gotta just walk away from, unfortunately. But yeah.
It's difficult with me. I've got my twin sister who is completely different. Massive support, huge, huge. Cannot manage my finances without her. She does it all for me. She comes around and she fusses around everywhere, and I'm okay with that. I love it. I do love it. And it's almost like a running joke. She'll go, Debra, haven't you done that yet? And I'll go, it's my ADHD. I can't do it. So,
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I'm happy just hanging by myself, flying solo. Really prefer that. But I only you sort of get a gut feeling who you know's legit towards you. I don't know if you all experience that too, but you sort of know, you know what, that person's not really going to be good for me. I don't think their intentions are quite what I want. Do you get that vibe? You can pick that up.
For me,
Yeah.
like I was saying earlier, the friends that I've kept, when things are good, it's still good, and when things are bad, it's still good because we communicate and we're understanding.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like before I knew how to make boundaries, which was like 2 years ago. I think because one, I wasn't diagnosed, and also two, I didn't know I had ADHD. So all of my symptoms that I was having, I was putting that as my identity and my personality. So I was blaming myself, and I'm always doubting myself. And if they had a complaint to say, I would just take it as 100% and be sorry and whatever. But there are times where I then start explaining, hey, you did something that made me upset. And if they get angry, then I'll back down and I'll be sorry again. But I noticed that it was happening with certain people, and I realized that I was being gaslit. So yeah, I think maybe if you have low self-esteem, it's like easier to be gaslit. And that's why it's so important to learn about boundaries, whether you're ADHD or not.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes, absolutely.
I think ADHD. Oh, sorry, Debra, are you speaking? We can't hear you.
I don't know about that statement with low self-esteem with gaslighting. I think it's not low self-esteem. It does get to that later on, but at the start it's not. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Well, you probably are. You expect people to be honest with you and authentic with you, and I don't think that's low self-esteem. I think that's trust.
Yeah.
And you learn later that it's misplaced trust, but there shouldn't be an expectation early on that people would be cynical with others, that they wouldn't trust them right off the bat.
No.
I think also because I don't trust myself, because I've made mistakes before in the way I communicate, so I always assume that I'm the one that did something wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that
I agree
not
with you.
self-esteem.
So continue.
No, I finished my point.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I completely, I would say I have to agree. It's like this. It's a very broad conversation, because when like you said, when you come from a place of where you had so much blame put on yourself, and it comes to talking to people, and you get upset over things that you're even too afraid to even have that conversation about, because you feel like it's going to be the wrong feeling, it's going to be the wrong emotion, or if this is it's not valid. And I feel like when you bring that up to somebody, it's a very gray area. Maybe they might you kind of like start seeing every point at every angle, and you can see, and it kind of trickles down to you blaming yourself. I feel it's kind of like finding that reason to blame yourself, thus having that gray area and trying to figure out like, you know, what your boundary is, or like what is the right thing. You don't really know, like, because your mind is so clouded with just so many different angles. It's kind of like if somebody, you know, states, you know, I don't think you should be upset, or I don't know. It just really depends on where you are, right? And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like do the means justify the end kind of thing, because sometimes, like, if I put myself in the opposite perspective, if I've upset my friend and I didn't intend for that to happen, I'd be fine with saying I'm sorry, and I'd hope they would let me explain myself without it being like justifying what I said or did in a way that they liked or didn't like. But it's when it doesn't happen the opposite way is when I've noticed, like, this is, and also if you explain that whenever I mention that you've done something that upset me, and they always take it in a negative route and don't let you explain or don't care about how you're feeling, and they go on about how they're annoyed at you. That's how I like noticed it. And it also happened with friends that know I have dyslexia and ADHD. They're fully aware that I have these struggles, and they'll still get annoyed with the way I say things and not let me explain it. And that's kind of like my tell signs of, okay, this person is not going to be okay with how I am. They're trying to put me in a box of what they want me to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's.
Do you?
Go ahead.
Go.
No, go ahead, Debra.
I was just about to say, do you, when you're having a conversation with some people, you can see their eyes glazing over because you're just waffling on. Can you see that as well? Or is it just an age?
I can see that as well, but I don't take offense because sometimes I do that too.
No, I don't take offense at all.
Too.
I just go, oh, you know what? It's a sign for me to be quiet and stop talking, because if I can see that person's eyes glazing over, I'm sure everyone else. I think I made my point in the meeting. I don't need to keep going on, you know.
Mm. Oh, you're saying that. So you're
Well, not just in the
internalizing
meeting,
their
but
eyes
just in
glazing
a.
over. You've internalized that. You see their eyes glazing over, and you think that I'm being boring now, and that I don't need to speak any longer. Is that right?
A meeting was one thing, sort of, you know, when you're just trying to get your point across and you go around, you go on and on and on and on and on about trying to make your point. And then you start forgetting your point and you just keep going on and on and on and on. And then, do you get that too? And then
Do you
just
think
go,
you're over explaining because you've had people not understand and not give you that time to explain?
No, it's just me. I keep trying to put my point across, but I don't do it directly.
Are you waiting for acknowledgement that they understood you? And if you don't get that, then you keep talking?
No, I think it's an ADHD thing. I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to explain, but I'm trying to make my point. But I go about it in such a different way, or a long way, that I can see what I'm trying to say and I can see what point I'm trying to make. But the person in front of me doesn't quite get what I'm trying to say. And then they lose interest because I'm just going off on a tangent. And then, do you guys do that too?
Yeah, and I have it. Yeah. Sometimes I find it hard to recognize when I'm doing it. And so, what you're saying about you see their eyes glazing over, I just, I tell my close friends, just tell me to stop. If I've gone too far and now I'm just, making a pest out of myself.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I actually do have to run now. There's some
Okay.
way to the Wilder Memorial, but
Oh, yes.
yeah, thank you guys so
Oh,
much. It was really great speaking to all of you and hearing all of your experiences. It honestly feels like such a great breath of fresh air to just be able to connect our experiences together and kind of just be like, oh my God, I do that too. Oh my God. It feels so nice. It doesn't feel so alone. And
yeah.
I
Totally.
wish you
Yes.
so much wellness and positivity and you guys just keep striving for whatever your goals are and
Yeah.
all the time you need. But yes, thank you guys again, and hopefully I'll see you guys on social media. I don't know if anybody has social media, Twitter.
I have Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
That's how I
to meet you.
found out about
Yeah.
this, the Twitter.
Yeah, if you guys would just
Right.
wait, yeah, it's on Twitter. Duh. Oh my God, we had the I have
Yes.
no, I'm just
Yes.
You guys have a good one.
All right. Well, take care of yourself today. Hey.
Yeah.
It's going to be a sad
Thanks
day.
for coming on.
Yep.
Bye guys, take care.
See ya.
All right. Well, I guess with that note, I think what I'll do is I'll wrap up the episode here. Quite a lengthy one, but that's fine because we have had a lot to talk about. I'd like to thank everybody for coming on. Kim, who unfortunately her laptop died and she wasn't able to come back. Catriona and Wendy and Alex, who just left, and Debra from Australia, which is extremely mid-morning now.
Well, I've just had a coffee, Russ. You see? Oh, no, that was 2 hours ago. I need to have another nap and then get up to go to work.
Oh, wow. Dedication. Holy.
Well, this is
All
my
right.
first podcast, so I didn't know what to expect. And yeah. Well,
Right.
that's what it was all about.
Well, there you go. Yeah, this was great. It's like Alex said, it's really nice to get different perspectives and information and explanations about everybody's, all your different experiences. The interesting thing is, there's all these misunderstandings and misconceptions on women with ADHD because you look online and they really focus on children, and there's all these misconceptions where it's a male disorder, like historically, and now women, like there's so many more out there that have it, and it's like they're more getting diagnosed and more it's becoming more common, and it's like they don't quite have a voice and to speak about it to one another. And the interesting thing, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, is that the majority of my audience, 2/3 of my audience, are actually women when it comes to my podcasts. And I've always wanted to try and give them more voice, more ability to speak their minds on the ADHD, because it's something, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about it, and there's a lack of understanding. And because there's still an issue in a lot of countries all over the world with equality, where women don't necessarily have the same rights in certain countries, and they're not getting equal pay, or there's still a lot of people out there that believe that women have a certain place in society and in families and stuff. So if the more it gets out and the more people are able to discuss it, and the more people who have, or women who have ADHD out there, are able to get experiences and learn about it from other people, then they're going to be so much better off in the future. And it is just beginning, to be honest, because it's still relatively new for a lot of them.
Yeah, I really think having more knowledge about my conditions have allowed me to forgive myself for things that I've been blamed for, or I blamed
Right.
myself for. it really is more calming and eye-opening when you get to learn and also find the community that helps give you tips and things that maybe doctors necessarily won't know because they don't
Yeah.
experience the same things. So I'm really happy to have found all of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was great. It was so helpful. Thank you so much, Russ, for allowing us to, have a voice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Thank you for having.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something that I plan on doing a lot more often, because they definitely, like, you need to be able to express your thoughts and your feelings on this to more people, and more of them, especially now that a lot of women are being diagnosed as adults, way more today than in the past. They need to be able to find some way of understanding and learning about their condition, because there's so much out there that they don't know, that it's a lot of mystery. It's a lot of, like, and it can be pretty scary, because you think for your entire life that this is the way everybody else is, like, unless you've been told, or everybody always says that there's something wrong or with you or different about you. You don't realize until you get diagnosed that things for you are a little different than other like a neurotypical person, and it can be very frustrating and very, like, discouraging, and so
I'm moving away from the shame of
exactly
being different.
Yeah, and it's very hard. Like, it's hard for people, let alone, like, it's probably even harder for women out there, just because of the way society has been for such a long time, and
Especially the inattentive type.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
The ninja ADHDers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Fantastic show. All right. That's it for today's episode, guys. This is available early on the subscription, but it will be publicly available for everybody on June 4th. I think that's Saturday. Or no, sorry. Friday the 3rd. Excuse me. I get my days mixed up there. Okay.
Is that
All right, everyone.
Australian time, Russ? Or
It'll be on the 4th for you.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. It was so good chatting.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye.